Hey there, if you're like most people trying to upgrade a workstation or a creative studio, you're probably nervous about throwing money at a huge screen that ends up sitting on a desk and gathering dust. You've seen the glossy ads, the 4K touch hype, and you're wondering whether this monitor will actually make your day-to-day work smoother or just add another layer of complexity. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon, because before you click buy, you deserve to know if this thing truly fits your workflow. Let's talk about the Dell Pro 75 Plus 4K touch monitor, model P7525QT. At first glance it looks like a flagship-level piece of hardware, a 75-inch screen, 4K resolution, and a built-in touch layer. That combination is pretty rare in the consumer space, and the price tag reflects that rarity. The question is, does that size and touch capability translate into real benefits for someone who isn't a museum curator or a movie theater designer? In my research, I've dug through a handful of professional-oriented forums, watched a few long-form tech reviews, and skimmed the limited user comments that actually exist. The consensus is that this monitor can be a game-changer if your use case aligns with its strengths, but it also has a few practical trade-offs that can be frustrating if you're not looking for them. First, let's picture a typical day for a graphic designer who works with large-format layouts, high-resolution photography, or video editing. On a standard 27-inch 1080p display, they spend most of their time zooming in and out, constantly panning across the canvas, and fighting with limited screen real estate. Switching to a 75-inch 4K panel instantly gives you roughly 33 million pixels to play with, which means you can have multiple windows open at full resolution. Think Photoshop on one side, a reference image on the other, and a color grading panel in the middle, all without the need to constantly Alt-Tab. The touch layer adds a more natural way to interact. You can pinch zoom, rotate, and even draw directly on the screen with a stylus, reducing the reliance on a mouse for certain tasks. But here's where the monitor's size becomes a double-edged sword. A 75-inch screen really does dominate a typical desk. You'll need a substantial workspace, ideally a sturdy desk with a deep surface, or a wall-mounted VESA bracket. If you have a cramped home office or a shared cubicle, the monitor might feel imposing, and you could end up constantly adjusting your posture to reach the edges. In the real world, several users have reported that the sheer size demands a deeper viewing distance than most desks allow. You'll find yourself leaning back more than you'd like, which can affect ergonomics over long sessions. Now, let's talk about the touch functionality. For architects or CAD engineers who often need to sketch over plans, the ability to use a stylus or even just a finger for precise adjustments is a clear win. The monitor's capacitive touch layer is responsive enough that it feels like a large tablet, but it does add a thin layer of glass that slightly reduces the crispness of the image when viewed hidden. In practice, the difference is subtle, but if you're a color-critical photographer who demands the purest pixel fidelity, you might notice a faint softening when you're looking straight at the screen. On the flip side, for most office tasks, spreadsheets, data dashboards, even streaming video, the touch layer adds convenience without any noticeable visual penalty. One of the hidden trade-offs is the input latency. Dell markets this unit as professional grade, but the combination of a high-resolution panel and touch processing does introduce a small amount of lag, especially when using the monitor as a drawing surface. For a casual doodler or a designer who isn't doing real-time animation, the latency is barely perceptible. However, for someone who does frame-by-frame animation work where every millisecond counts, that delay could become a nuisance. The good news is that the monitor offers multiple input options: DisplayPort, HDMI, and USB-C, so you can connect a high-performance graphics card that helps keep the frame rate solid, but the inherent processing of the touch layer remains a constant factor. Another practical consideration is the built-in USB hub. The P7525QT includes a set of USB ports that can be handy for plugging in a webcam, a keyboard, or a mouse. This is a small convenience that actually shows up in daily use. You don't have to reach for the back of the monitor or the computer tower every time you need a new connection. However, the hub is limited to a handful of ports, so if you have a heavy peripheral load, say multiple external drives, a MIDI controller, and a professional webcam, you'll still need an extra hub down the line. It's not a deal breaker, just something to be aware of when planning your workstation layout. Who should buy this thing? If you're a creative professional who regularly works with large files, needs expansive screen space, and can take advantage of touch interaction, think UI/UX designers, video editors, CAD engineers, or even medical imaging specialists, then the Dell Pro 75 Plus offers a compelling